This video is about to get very surgical.
Straight up. Everybody a thug till them lights pull up. And everybody got a gun until ice pull up. A middle finger to the president, cause I ain't too impressed. How the fuck you kicking niggas out? Ain't you niggas guess, so it's death to an ice truck driver.
Enforced opinions is not convincing. Y'all need a new route, man. I ain't gonna lie. Kendrick was not lying at all when he said that, bro, because at this point, everything that Drake and company are doing, it just looks like desperation, bro. Like, there was a point where I at least somewhat believed that Drake could turn the tides, and not turn the tides in a way of turning the tides on Kendrick and company, right? But at least being able to put himself back in a similar position that he was in at some point, right? With all of this propaganda, with all of this stuff that's been going on, I thought that maybe he could do that. But if you really look at the timeline of everything that's been going on, a lot of the moments in which Drake could have capitalized on the propaganda and etc. that was being pushed, right? They didn't really capitalize, right? When you think about all of the forced propaganda that's being pushed right now, that's just extremely see-through, extremely debunkable. Like, this just reeks of desperation, bro. Every move reeks of desperation. And I think back to when Kendrick Lamar had that first 16 bars in Euphoria. And in reality, it feels more like he was speaking to what Drake is doing now than what Drake was doing then. A lot of the shit that Kendrick was saying in that Euphoria verse in the first, 16 bars relates more to how Drake is moving today. And sometimes I wonder, was that a prophecy that he was imposing on Drake? You feel what I'm saying? I'm not saying the prophecy is, Kendrick is Jesus, but I'm saying, after you lose this battle, this is how you will be moving, right? Understanding how Drake responds to things, how Drake goes about things, and saying, after this battle, this is how you will be moving, right? And with this latest thing that they just tried to pull today, at this point, it's like they're extremely desperate, man. I want y'all to take a look at this, okay? If you've seen my video, my series, what's it called? 616 in LA just got darker, right? We basically breaking down the ins and outs of the propaganda in the industry and how Drake was working with, PR firms, right? And how these PR firms are possibly connected to a lot of the smear campaigns that was going on these artists who battled Drake or went against Drake, right? And one of the things we learned was, the coordinated campaigns on social media and all this other stuff that we about to get to when I look at this up on Google, right? But I want y'all to look at this, okay? There has been no rap song chart inside the top 10 on the Billboard Hot 100 for over 9 months, the longest drought since the streaming era began. The last to be released was Drake's What Did I Miss, right? This account is strictly Drake propaganda. So, look, Toronto's #1 hip-hop outlet. You expect them to do that. They're supposed to root for that guy. Nobody's mad at them for rooting for that guy. But then, you get to Daily Rap Facts. Rap hip-hop has went 9 straight months without a top 10 hit on the Billboard Hot 100. The last rap hip-hop record to land in the top 10 was Drake's What Did I Miss in July 2025. Okay. Interesting. Then you get to Hip-Hop All Day, and this is supposed to be this neutral account that is not leaning in any direction and just giving information on some of this stuff, right? There has been no rap song chart inside the top 10 on the Billboard Hot 100 for over 9 months, the longest drought since the streaming era began. The last to be released was Drake's What Did I Miss? And now this is where I raise the eyebrow. You're supposed to be neutral, right? And we're finna break down why there's an issue with what they posted, okay? Then we go down to Complex, right? Another supposedly neutral site that has been leaning heavily in promoting and pushing propaganda for Drake for a minute. Drake's What Did I Miss was hip-hop's last Hot 100 top 10 hit 9 months ago. Okay? Now, shout out to this song, the Real Isaiah Rashad. I had to click on this one. But then we go to Curiko. And I've been telling y'all about Curiko since April of 2025. Okay? And now the same thing that they've been doing, they built the platform, and now people are looking at it as a neutral platform, when in reality, they're mixing in a lot of the stuff that they're doing and doing propaganda for Drake. Hip-hop has now gone 9 straight months without a top 10 hit on the Billboard Hot 100. The last hip-hop track to make it into the top 10 was Drake's What Did I Miss in July 2025. Now, all of this is crazy, right? Because if you not really tapped in, if you don't really know what's going on, you would look at this and be like, damn, there ain't no top 10 hit without Drake. What would you assume, right? Well, Drake is the one that's making the hits. Nobody else is making hits. And that's until you add the context, right? What does it say when we look up on Google? What was the last hip-hop record in the top 10? Oh, wait, it was What Did I Miss? Whoa. Until you think. When we was talking about in the 616 in LA video, what was one of the things that we talked about in the propaganda machine? It's SEO, right? Used to push blogs to the top of searching results. So it doesn't mean, a lot of people think if you search something, the first thing that comes up, it's factual, right? But then when you think about one of the propaganda tools that this PR firm uses is pushing these things to the top. Now, of course, that's anybody that's marketing, right? Anybody that's marketing something, you're going to want to put it in SEO and make sure that it's the search engine optimization is pushing your thing to the top, right? But when it's misinformation, that's when it's like, okay, we see what's going on here, okay? Right here, you would see this and say, look, it is What Did I Miss, right? Boom, boom. You can already see people doing that until you go to the highlight. And all it is highlighting what we already saw. Complex in Twitter. Complex in Twitter from Daily Rap Facts. So most people who aren't aware are going to see this and be like, yeah, this is true. Look, right here, right? We already noticed this. Not that long ago, the top Google search, right? You would look at Baby Keem's thing and it was saying that Baby Keem had died. And people were running with that all over social media, including Baby Keem fans, right? But that was just it. Niggas don't know how that happened, right? But if you don't look at the highlight, all you're gonna know is or think is that this is true. Now, by technicality, right? Would this be accurate? Maybe so, because technically, What Did I Miss was the last song that was released to be on a top 10 Billboard, right? But when you look at these posts, it was the last, they say it's the last hip hop track to make it into the top 10, right? Hip hop has now gone 9 straight months without a top 10 hit on the Billboard. Is a different story though. So this is what they do. It's like they're playing with the words, right? To get you to think about that. Even when you search it a certain way, this is what comes up. What did I miss? Now, what if we change it just a little bit? What if we alter the search just a little bit, right? So instead of what was the last hip hop record in the top 10 on Billboard, we'll say, what was the last hip hop song left on a top 10 Billboard? Guess what comes up? Luther by Kendrick Lamar and SZA. So in reality, right, Luther was the last song that was left on the hip hop charts. And as a matter of fact, the only reason it was removed was because it had maxed out. It was removed completely. It didn't drop out of the top 10. It was removed, right? I think it did drop out of the top 10. It was like top 20 or something like that. Regardless, it was still in the top 40, right? I don't know exactly where it fell or whatever, but it had to be removed because it was there for so long, okay? So when you look at it from that perspective, it's like now you can see through the propaganda, right? They're not necessarily lying all the way, but they're playing with words because they know this helps push the narrative. To say that hip hop has gone 9 straight months without a top 10 hit would be a lie because Luther was in the top 10, right? Now, if you want to be technical, What Did I Miss was the last song that was probably released for rap songs, right? That made into the top 10. But that's not how they pushed this narrative. They pushed this narrative by making it seem like nothing else was in the top 10 outside of Drake's contributions. Okay? And this is what I'm saying when you start talking about the desperation. If you got to do all of this to create the narrative that the game needs Drake back, you're screaming for hype to be built for this album. I mean, goddamn, Gilly the Kid. I mean, bro, J. Cole, which is one of the 3 biggest artists of his generation in hip hop, right, had to go on a whole campaign for Iceman while his album is in the circuits. Every single interview he was promoting Iceman. How much propaganda does Drake need for this album? It reeks of desperation. It reeks of desperation, right? Especially when you start to talk about how everybody is pretending like Drake just vanished off the face of the earth. Like Drake just vanished off the face of the earth. Newsflash, guys. Drake has released at least 27 songs. He has been on at least 27 songs since the battle. Different formats. He tried to lean into the pop. He tried to lean into the dance hall. He tried to do the R&B album, Party Next Door. He dropped his own hip hop records. He got the streaming thing with the episodes and all that. Like, this is over a year and some change of a rollout that keeps dipping and boom, 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 and trying to find new ways to build that hype back up. In reality, the best chance was around the time when What Did I Miss or Nokia and all that stuff was, or What Did I Miss was coming out. You feel what I'm saying? So it's interesting. The narrative around Drake is that he's been, gone and he's been laid back and he hasn't been, but he's been dropping the most music out of the big 3. It's just that it's come and gone. So for some reason, people just say, well, he hasn't dropped at all. Well, no, what you're actually saying is now Drake's music doesn't have staying power anymore. As a matter of fact, What Did I Miss was dropping drastically after it was released, right? Drastically declining after it's released. From 3 to like 2014 to like 28 to like something like that of that nature. No staying power, right? And when we think about his last release, which is For All the Dogs, right? This is October 6th of 2023. When have you known Drake to take this long to release another album? Another project? When? This goes to show you, right? We've never seen Drake move. We haven't seen Drake move in this way in who knows how long. Drake has consistently released, consistently. It's the thing that everybody gives him praise for. He never disappears, right? In reality, he doesn't. He still hasn't disappeared. But the hesitation on dropping the solo project is something we've never seen before. And all this propaganda, bro, it's like, dog, why does the guy that everybody keeps talking about is the major hit maker, is the only superstar, is all these different things, need this much misinformation within the propaganda in order to platform himself back? It's because he took severe damage during the battle and it's having severe effects. People will say that they did this to Drake, they hurt Drake, they did all this stuff, but at the same time tell you nothing happened to him and he's untouched. I remember when Lil Yachty and all these guys was coming out doing interviews saying Drake's not losing any sweat, he's going to be right back. 27 songs later, he's not right back. Drake is not the Drake that people are used to. And as a matter of fact, in the 2020s, he's not even one of the biggest hit makers out in all genres combined. If we're talking about staying power at number 1 and all this different stuff, Drake is not even on that list. So when you look at it from that perspective, it's like, I mean, what was the desperation has been very clear. Drake was banking on winning that battle to get into a new deal and extend his career as the number 1 hit maker in the game, so to say. It didn't work out, and ever since, Drake has been trying to get back into the graces, and it hasn't been working. And every time it gets, every minute that passes, Drake and company become more desperate, bro. I've never seen this many people trying to get one guy back in position. I've never seen it before. Every day it's a new story. Every day it's a new, oh, well, I heard this and all this different stuff, bro. It reeks of desperation. Reeks of desperation. It's crazy. You feel what I'm saying? But, hey, man, like, comment, subscribe, especially if you're new here, especially if you've been here. You feel what I'm saying? Definitely check out the Patreon. You feel what I'm saying? We dropping the new reaction to Jay-Z's albums, because I don't know if y'all know, but everybody is on my Patreon, or everyone who hasn't checked out the Patreon, we are doing a reaction to Jay-Z's whole catalog, because y'all know I ain't been tapped in with Jay-Z's catalog as far as listening directly to it. I've only really heard a lot of Jay-Z post his, I guess, prime, right? And that's because that's when I started to listen to my own music. But everything else, I've heard Jay-Z in the bypassing type of way. And that's probably because I was young. So what we're doing now is playing his whole catalog, and I'm playing it on Patreon. You feel what I'm saying? So definitely tap in for that. Definitely check out the F Ice joint for all the people out there that ain't checked it out. Appreciate everybody that has. You feel what I'm saying? And yeah, you feel me? I just needed to speak on this because this is getting crazy. It's looking ridiculous, man. You feel what I'm saying? But hey, like, comment, subscribe, especially if you're new, especially if you've been here. I'm gonna catch y'all. Y'all have a good day, man.